Well, welcome, Southside Church. We're so excited to have you again for an episode of Celebrating Good News. Thank you all for joining us and supporting what we're doing. We're so glad today to have a special guest who has really become more prominent in the past few months for a lot of us who've been watching television and getting our updates, and pretty new to me being in the area. But we have Mayor Jerry Demings with us today. Thank you, Mayor, for joining us.
Thank you, Pastor, for inviting me. I'm always honored to talk to people of faith and the residents of Orange County. So I look forward to sharing everything that I could with you today. Thank you again for inviting me to be here.
Well, thank you. I was telling the mayor earlier that one of the ideas when we were watching the daily updates, especially there in the beginning, and I know his office was working overtime to keep people connected. And I told him that we were working overtime to keep our church connected. But one of the things I picked up on was that Mayor Demings said that he was a man of faith, and to state that during one of the things. So I thought it would be awesome for our people to hear about your journey, Mayor, your faith journey through the years, and what that's meant to you as you pursued a life in the public sector.
Thank you. I have been incredibly blessed to do some extraordinary things to being an ordinary man. I was born and raised here in Orlando to two blue-collar workers. My father came here in 1939 from Alabama. He was born and raised there. And so he's a son of the South. And my father drove taxi cabs for a living and did some other small business adventures over time. My father is 98 years old, so he still lives on.
Oh, wow.
Cleaned houses for a living, and she lived to be 95. She died about 3 years ago. But between a taxi driver and a mother who cleaned houses for a living, there were 5 children. I have a twin brother who's about 30 minutes older than I am. But the way we were raised was to believe and trust that God would not put anything on us more than what we could bear. And so my mother made certain that we went to church. It was no question in our household that we were going to go to church. We were going to be active in the church. We're Methodist by practice. But since I have been in public office now for about 40 years, I've had the privilege to go into various congregations, various denominations, and respect, all people. And so perhaps at some point after the pandemic passes by, I look forward to coming there to the Southside Church and participating in your worship service, because that's really who we are. I'm married. My wife is a public servant as well. And she now serves in the United States House of Representatives. She just got reelected to her 3rd term in Congress. And she too is a woman of faith. And so we have raised 3 adult sons now, and we have 5 grandchildren in this area. And we've been through some challenging times, ups and downs. And I know that without faith, there is no way that we could have effectively gotten through many of the things. Over time, we've responded to numerous disasters and shootings and other things that have happened in this community. And so we know that we are indeed one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We believe in that. We believe in the American dream, and hopefully we personify that. So, Pastor, I'm willing to talk about any of those things that you want to talk about.
So when the pandemic started, as I told you, we all kind of kicked it into high gear. What was your first thought? I think we all thought we were going to be inside for about 2 weeks, and then it just kept going and going. But your office, I'm sure, was very busy with the news conferences and getting the good information out. How did your team respond? I think they all kind of kicked it into high gear. But I mean, what observations have you seen, even with your team?
Well, fortunately, I have a well-experienced team. In life, I think that in order for you to be truly as good as you possibly can be, it takes a couple of things. It takes good training and education, and it takes experience. Over the years, I built this team now of crisis managers. I'm a crisis manager. I manage incidents from response to hurricanes, to shootings, to incidents like the Pulse nightclub tragedy, to numerous other things. So I'm a crisis manager because of my background and training after spending about 37 and a half years in law enforcement from the ground up. As we approach this by looking at this pandemic as really a medical science issue. And so we knew that in order to understand the virus, this is something that only occurs once in about every 100 years or so. And so it's been a little better than 100 years since the last pandemic. So it's not really many human beings that have lived through this. So I knew that we had to pay attention, listen to the experts about what we could do to control the virus. When we started out, there was mixed opinions about how long the virus would impact us. But we had to make some early decisions. We had to be decisive. And early on, and back in March, I made a decision that we would shut the county down with the exception of essential businesses, life, health, and safety types of components. We did that because the virus was beginning to spread very rapidly. And of course, our primary concern was human life, the preservation of human life, and to keep everyone safe. And so we had early success by doing that. We made that decision before the state made the decision to do so. The state lagged a bit because the numbers down in South Florida were really escalating very quickly. And we did not want to be like New York and some other metropolitan areas where their hospitals had exceeded their capacity and people were just dying in significant numbers. So I had a healthy respect for the virus itself. And so as a result of those early decisions that were made, getting people to shelter in place, putting a facial covering order in place, and doing those other things, we were able to really slow the progression of the virus within our community almost immediately. Our numbers plummeted to single digits, whereas there were other metropolitan areas around the state of Florida and around the nation where the numbers were in double digits. We were able to work with our business community to make some informed decisions with them. And I think we all thought that maybe this would be just a few month phenomenon. Here we are into the 8th month of dealing with the pandemic, and we're still not out of the woods yet. Our positivity rate hovers around 6% now. It had been low as 5%. It had been as high as 13, 14% at different times. But we have brought the numbers down to where we have relatively contained the virus. But sometimes people get fatigued when we are wearing masks, we're socially distancing, we're asking them not to engage in large gatherings. And consequently, the overwhelming majority of people in our community have adhered to that and watched their distance, watched their hand sanitizing capacities, and they're wearing a mask. And so that has helped us contain the virus. So we're in pretty good shape. We're beginning to see a slight increase now. We have over 48,000 cumulative cases here within Orange County. We have seen we're approaching nearly 600 people that have died as a result of the virus itself within our community alone. But to put it in perspective, here in the Miami-Dade County area, they are looking at 5 times the number of cumulative cases and nearly 5 times the number of deaths there. So it's a larger metropolitan area than here, but it's not 5 times as large. It's about 20 as large. And so to put it in perspective, that tells me that we're doing something right here within this community.
Yeah, and I want to just respond to that because when we early in the early days, they kept saying Orlando's the next New York. You know, it's the next hot spot. And we're sitting here, we're like, okay, we just moved here and now we've got this to deal with, you know, with our family. And through the leadership, I feel like, of this state and the Orange County, your office, I think a lot of the things have turned it around. I've had three tests myself, and I know that in the beginning, the test was I waited 4 hours for the test and then a week for the results. And the last test I took, it was 20 minutes and then got the results like texted within 10 minutes, you know. So I know that the government and the public servants are really responding and have taken this seriously, and it's been a really good thing. So I just want to commend you for that, for everyone I think who has just stepped up to help us with this, because we are not the hot spot that everybody predicted we would be.
Well, and you're absolutely right. We were the #1 tourist destination in North America, one of the top in the world, with over 75 million visitors on an annual basis. We have a lot of people coming in internationally and even traveling here domestically. But early on, when the largest theme park, the largest single site employer in North America, Walt Disney, made a decision to shutter its doors without a mandate of the government. That was a monumental decision, because effectively what that was able to do was to stop the spread of the virus here within our community. The other large single site employers, the other theme parks, they followed suit, and they remained closed effectively for several months, and began to reopen in May and June. And of course, we know that they are still not where they once were, and a number of people are underemployed, unemployed as a result of that. But that was very decisive leadership that we saw here within our community, and we have all been the benefactors, I believe, of that. Our hospitals remain below capacity, which is a good thing, even though we're beginning to see a slight uptick in the number of new cases day over day. So I remain optimistic that after the first of the year, we should see a vaccine that is widely available to the American public. And so until then, we all are going to have to really continue to live with the virus amongst us. And you don't want to get it. There are some people who have had great experiences with it, but I do personally know individuals who contracted the virus and they died as a result of it. I know others, young and old, some of our firefighters, young in their 20s, contracted the virus and were hospitalized. And when I listen to them, they tell me that there was a harrowing experience for them. But we know that it disproportionately impacts those who are senior citizens and those who have major illnesses. So if you fall into any of those categories, you really want to be extremely careful about who you go around, and even family members. Dr. Pino, the local health officer, tells us that the overwhelming majority of people who are testing positive now are contracting the virus from their immediate family members. And so, so don't even trust sometimes when you're around your family members who have to go out into the community and come back in. It's not truly known exactly how the virus spreads, and but what we do know is that when you follow the CDC guidelines and use sanitation protocols, you can reduce the probability that you will contract the virus. And so, you know, I have worked with our faith community. We have provided personal protective equipment, hand sanitizers to those places of worship who have desired to have them. We have done a forum with the faith community where we wanted to talk about best practices that will work for them as they will re-engage their congregations. And many of them have followed those directives. We had a reopening task force that we impaneled business leaders here within the community to work collaboratively with the health experts to come up with a plan of action as we reopen our businesses. And so we reopened essentially back in the April, May period of time, and we have been fairly successful in not seeing significant outbreaks since that period of time. We are now working with our social service communities, providing some federal CARES Act dollars so that they can provide the social needs to our community. We're working with our career source of Central Florida, where we're doing some retraining, upskill training for individuals who may have been working in the service industry, may have been working at the hotels and places like that, or at our theme parks, so that we can retrain them. We do have the manufacturing sector here within our community really has fairly decent paying jobs, and they have many vacancies. So what we're trying to do is retrain within a short period of time. We have provided some funding to Career Source where they are working with individuals in a matter of weeks. They can be taught a new skill that is directly applicable to those who work on manufacturing lines, and the pay is well above minimum wage when you work in the manufacturing industry. So there are some jobs in the community that people certainly, if they're interested in working, can be able to do it. We still continue to see many of our hotel occupancies significantly lower. Our Disney announced about a month ago that they were going to be furloughing employees, and there it was a total of nearly 16,000 employees that they permanently furloughed. And we know that as the holidays approach, when travel into our location picks back up, some of those individuals will be reemployed at some of the tourist-related companies here, but nothing like what it would have been in pre-pandemic times. So what I'm saying to our community is there's hope. Today we kicked off a toy drive in partnership with Fox News, and we're going to be gathering toys for children, those from infant to 18 years old, to make certain that we catch and uplift those in the greatest need within our community during this Yuletide season that we are going in. And so I'm confident that our residents will come together and take care of the least of those in our community, because that's the true measure of any community, is how do you take care of the least of those in your community. So the faith community can help with that process. They can even go online to our website at ocfl.net and get information about online shopping. And then we have 20 different locations around the county where you can drop off new unwrapped toys. And there's a list on the website of what we're looking for. Those locations around the county are at our parks and recreation centers. They are at some of our county fire stations, and then some of our other county facilities. They have drop boxes here at the county administration building in downtown Orlando. And Fox is going to be accepting also toys, unwrapped toys, and et cetera, at their facilities. And so over time, this is our 10th year anniversary of having the mayor's toy drive during this season. And during that period of time, over 45,000 toys have been given out to families here within our community. So it's just one of the many things that we're doing. We just provided some dollars to the arts and cultural affairs community to help our performers and entertainers have venues. So we have selected 6 different parks around the county where we are underwriting the cost of them performing at these parks, socially distanced, and these entertainers are able to charge a small fee if they so choose to for admittance to perform. And since we're in the season, this will be an opportunity for people who live throughout the county in the broad geographical areas that we have a jurisdiction over. It's a 1,000 square mile county. They can go to these parks and just enjoy and relax and hear some holiday singing and other things that will be done at some of our parks, and also support those entertainers who are underemployed these days.
Right.
We have a plethora of things, Pastor, that I'm
Right.
about. So I'm just excited about all that we're doing to try to take care of our community during this time of need.
Hey, thank you for doing all that too. I mean, I know it's a blessing, and churches can step up too. I know in our own local church, the main thing is just reaching out, making sure nobody. It's like a storm, and you're trying to take care of yourself, but you gotta reach out and make sure that nobody is left behind, that nobody feels alone or isolated. And so I think that's some of what we've done. How have you personally leaned into your faith during this? I know you've had other crises, like you said. This is not, the hurricanes and all that. But what do you find yourself? How do you find yourself leaning into faith when you hit something like this?
Well, when you're in the midst of a crisis, I think daily devotion is really important. And, I'm incredibly blessed because so many faith leaders in our community, they reach out and they tell me, we're praying for you. I have not been in many houses of worship. I've been on a few at various things over time, but again, we try to keep the communications going, and I believe that that is the best thing that we can do, is understand one another. The more that you spend time with people, the more you figure out that we're all more alike than we are different. And so that's what my wife and I, we do. We involve the faith in our lifestyles. And so we have daily devotionals, in our household. And here at work, we have this thing in America about separation of church and state. And so here we have to walk a balance there. But at each one of our formal meetings here in Orange County government, there is an invocation that is always done, by a faith leader. We have several task forces that we have created. We have one now. We've seen a spike in terms of violent crime within our community. And so we have a faith leader from the Interfaith Council who is co-chairing that task force that had their first meeting last Friday. And so again, it's all about partnership, collaboration. We have a significant challenge with food availability. Many of our families are, because of a lack of revenues, and we have crisis assistance available, by the way, for families who need it in $1,000 increments, and you can apply for that. But we're working with Second Harvest Food Bank and many others to collect food to make certain that no one goes hungry in our community. And so that is something that the faith community has been working with. I have been out and participated in a number of food distributions that have been led by different congregations throughout the county. And so I hope that they continue to do that during this Yuletide season. As we approach Thanksgiving, we know that we still have a significant number of homeless people in our community, and we're trying to diligently keep people in their homes. We have an eviction diversion program that we unveil here, and we have dollars available for individuals who have received an eviction notice. They can get up to $4,000 if the landlord and the tenant agree to keep that person in their household for the next few months. We have dollars available for that. And so, again, I think that's a role that the faith community can play in our community to help with providing needed clothing, funds, et cetera, to the Homeless Services Network. And we can leverage those relationships to make certain that people don't end up out on the streets of our community.
Right. That's great. That's wonderful. I think I probably have time for one more question, and then I'll let you go, because you've got a bunch of things going on, I'm sure. But as you grew up in the community and you've got a vantage point that most of us don't, tell me what are the most beautiful things about this area? What are the things that you like the most about Orange County? What is why, what's so special about it?
Orange County is a melting pot. The people here are from all over the globe. So sometimes you can experience the cultures from around the world without having to travel anywhere. If you just, I think, have an open mind and you're willing to go into some places and share and break bread with some people, because of that diversity. I believe that the strength of America, America was built on the backs of some immigrants who came from across the world to make it this very unique place. And so we talk about that diversity and the fact that we are the United States of America with ancestors from all over the globe. I think Orange County is very indicative of the American dream itself. And so since I'm over 60 years old, so as a result of that, I've seen some change in this community. I was here pre-Disney, and I like to celebrate what we do have. So that's what I'm most proud of, is how we have embraced people from all faiths, all cultures, all religions, within this community that has made us strong. It has allowed us to bridge the gap to come together and respect all people. So Pastor, that's what it's about. I know that you have a very diverse congregation, and your congregation has embraced that diversity and strengthened it. And sometimes when people are at odds with one another, it's because they don't really understand
Right.
their brethren. And so the more that we can understand our brethren, the better off that we are.
And the closer we get to each other, the more we understand and we see people as just like us. Really, we see the humanity, we hear their stories. And so that's a beautiful thing in our church. You'll see it when you come visit sometime.
Yes.
We've had other people. We had somebody come in who is a security expert. He came as church was letting out, and he's looking. He's like, "Do all these people go to your church, the same church?" I said, "Yes." It's a beautiful thing. So I think you'll see that when you come. Thank you so much for joining us today. We just really appreciate it. We just thank you for your leadership. We're praying for you, and keep up the good work. Your team is doing great. Everyone, I feel like, is just firing on all cylinders there and helping us through this.
Well, welcome to town, Pastor. How good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. And so I look forward to coming and spending some time with you in the near future. So keep me in mind when you have some special programs or something. I love to come out and visit you at some point. Be blessed in this season that we're going in.
Thank you so much. God bless you today.
Yes, may He bless you. Take care.